When completing the FAFSA application, something that always stumps students is whose information do I actually have to report? So the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. It is completely free to complete. Now, when you complete the FAFSA application, you are applying for federal aid. We at FEA use that information to determine your eligibility for state aid, and even some schools use your FAFSA information to determine eligibility for things such as institutional grants and scholarships. So when you're completing this application, they're going to ask you some questions to help determine if you are a dependent student or if you are an independent student. Now, my dependent students, you have to report parental information. Independent students, you don't. So you're able to skip over the parent section on the FAFSA. Now, how do you know if you're a dependent or an independent student? Well, the FAFSA is going to help you determine that. And they're going to ask you these questions here, right? They're going to ask you, are you 24 years or older? Are you a veteran or serving on active duty? Are you an emancipated minor? Does someone have legal guardianship over you? Are you an orphan or ward of the court? Are you deemed homeless by a proper authority? Now, if you're answering yes to any of these questions, then you are an independent student. And this will tell you that. The FAFSA will tell you that, and you'll be able to skip right over the parent section. Now, if you answer no to these questions, then it will tell you you are a dependent student, which means you have to report parent information. Now, which parent information do you have to report? So if your parents are married and living together, you have to report both parents' information. If your parents are unmarried, but they live together, they live in the same household, you have to report both parents' information. Here's where it gets a little tricky. What about parents who are divorced or separated? The FAFSA is going to want you to report your custodial parents' information. What does that mean? So a custodial parent is the parent that you, the student, lived with the most over the past 12 months from the day you sit down to file the FAFSA. So who did you live with the most over the past year? Whichever parent that is your custodial parent. And that's the parent's information you have to report. Now, if your parents are divorced or separated, but they still live in the same household, in that case, you still have to report both parents' information. Again, because they're living together in the same house. I do want to make a quick note because I get this question a lot. My parents are divorced or separated, they live in separate houses, but I live with them equally, right? I split my time 50-50 between both of my parents. Now whose information do I use? Well, in that case, if you split your time 50-50, you live with both parents equally, then you're going to want to use the custodial parent, which is the one who provides the most financial support to you, the student. So whoever provides the most financial support, that would be the parents whose information you would use. So who else might be considered your legal parent? So if you have adoptive parents who have legally adopted you, their information would be reported on the FAFSA. If you have a step parent, so if your custodial parent, right, your parents are divorced or separated, the parent that you lived with the most, if they are remarried, you also have to report your step parent's information on the FAFSA application. Now, what about if you live with a grandparent or a family member or a neighbor? Anyone who is not your legal parent would not report their information on your FAFSA. So you would not be reporting that information on your FAFSA application.